Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mtambo's podcast. My name is Duke Mtambo, and the following is a conversation with David Ogiga, a Kenyan entrepreneur, social impact leader, and a consultant. He's also the co-founder of Sote Hub, a social enterprise that supports youth entrepreneurship and innovation in Kenya. He's also a former chairman of the Association of Countrywide Hubs in Kenya. David has over 15 years of experience working in the social impact sector. He has a passion for youth employment, entrepreneurship, technology, and a strong advocate for women in tech. He's committed to using his skills and experience to help young people in Kenya achieve their full potential. He's also passionate about climate change and agriculture. He believes that these are the two of the most important challenges facing Kenya today. Joining me is also Jakub Schimek, a co-founder of Wezesha DAO and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. So in today's podcast, we'll be talking with David on various topics revolving around his passion for social impact, climate change, agriculture, Kenyan Startup Ecosystem, blue economy innovation, and his intriguing journey of Sote Hub Project. David, it's a great honor and pleasure to have you on Mtambo's podcast.
Thank you, Gift. Thank you, Jakub. And the description you have for me is quite... I didn't know you know a lot about myself. It's a pleasure to be here and be able to speak with you on these various topics. Yeah,
great. Great. And, David, just to let our listener know that David was my boss. And I worked with him previously on Sote ICT project from 2014 to 2018. That's almost 4 years, and of great experience working with him at Sote Hub, together with Jakub, who is here. And I understand, David, you shifted Sote Hub operation from Voi to Mombasa, right?
Yes, I did. I did that. And of course, very, very proud. You are one of my success stories, or our success stories. So very privileged that I can be able to speak at this podcast. Yeah, we moved, but about the decision to move to Mombasa, I think we've been in Taita for maybe 6 years. We've created impact from Cradle. I think Taita is very, very strong attachment because that's the beginning. That's where the vision was born. But over time, I think the needs were in terms of the people we serve. Most of the entrepreneurs and young people work with, the projects were along the coastline. So Kilifi, Kwale, Mombasa, Tana River, Lamu. And so we thought that maybe we need now to move. Of course, very sad memories of living in Voi. But of course, we are happy to be in Mombasa because logistically it's easier. And also it's centrally located. We say Mombasa is a gateway to East Africa. So I think this was a good choice. Yeah.
Actually, on the sad part, Jakub is always sad about that. You guys shifting from Voi to Mombasa.
Yeah, no,
I know. He told me.
But it's an old story. Now I'm sad about the Duke shifting to Mombasa. With David, it was like it's so last year, right? Or 2 years ago. Now it's like Duke told me like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, so I will be moving to Voi, and you guys, you can stay in Mombasa. I can't live in Mombasa; it would destroy me. But Voi, maybe.
Oh gosh, okay. How sad.
I can just come for weekends, to Mombasa, but not like a full-time Mombasa resident. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, but you can explain maybe. But he's moving to like very close to where we used to stay in Mombasa. Yeah.
Severinotam, Bamburi, actually. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're moving to Mombasa?
Yeah, I'm planning to move to Mombasa probably maybe next month. So yeah. And I'm looking forward to link up with you, David. Yeah.
Welcome. I'll offer free orientation and walk around and can help you search for houses.
Yeah,
sure.
And actually, Actually, the decision, I think, Duke's decision was made after he wanted you on a podcast, you know. So it was like there is no side motivation. It's a very kind of sudden decision, like, but yeah.
Oh, so we can shoot podcast every day. Okay.
Yeah. Just to clarify, that was not the reason why he approached you to do the podcast. It was like he approached you 2 months ago, and he found out that he will be moving to Mombasa like 3 weeks ago or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
Good news.
Good news, yeah. Sure. David, let's kickstart the podcast with your intriguing Sote Hub project. Yeah, together with Yakub, you are also part of it. But as the co-founder of this amazing project, would you please share with our listener about the journey of Sote Hub and how did it all start and what has been your vision for the project?
Yeah, good question. So my background is in wildlife management. And so while in school at the university, that's Moi, we used to do a lot of volunteering. As you know, Savo ecosystem is nearly 25,000 square kilometers. So it hosts nearly a third of Kenyan's elephant. It's actually a hotbed of human wildlife conflict. So there's strong focus in Savo, yet although it has this immense potential and resources, I think it also has some of the poorest neighborhood and poorest populations in terms of education standards. Is quite low in terms of nearly all the parameters. So our decision to come to Savo was not a difficult one, because even from school level, we already had developed networks. And so once we graduated, it was very easy for me, together with two of my colleagues, Frank Omondi and Boniface, so who together we were in the same class. So we formed a safari company, Finch Travels. And Finch Travels, I remember, is a small bird, and it always reminded us of small, humble beginnings. Of course, the vision was always bigger. And so the first project that we did, of course, Finch Travels, we were doing tours and travel, but we wanted to do more with the communities. And so how could we be able to partner with them, especially give back ecotourism projects? And so we formed an NGO, non-governmental wing of the safari company. So this was now Kasiga Wildlife Trust, which I was the director, and of course now spearheading the initiatives. And one of the interventions that we did, we were lucky to get funding from Slovakia and put up a 20-bed ecolodge known as Kiwanjani.
I remember Kiwanjani.
Exclusive, with one of the best water holes where elephants were coming. And I remember when you come to Kiwanjani, there's no mobile network. So you just need to have quiet moments with nature and soak it in and that. So I think that was maybe some of my best memories. You two remember Kiwanjani very well, of course, various experiences. Maybe you can share that later on.
It was like the digital detox, you know, like you had, there was no network, so you just had to like focus on, I don't know, talking to people. Dining with
it
people.
was.
No,
looking at that, and
no
of course,
internet, no mobile phone. So
no mobile phone, no internet, and everything is very, I would say, very original, authentic, including young fathers beer garden. So these were
at
course, very, very at
wow.
So so we did very well with the lodge. We had a lodge. I remember we worked with nearly 300 women groups, especially they were making baskets. We worked with about 20 young people as rangers. So these young people were helping us in terms of patrols, but also training the community not to poach wildlife, because a lot of people are looking for cheap protein, and cheap protein is, you can get it from Dick or the wildlife. And so our conservation training was their alternatives way of living. And so you don't need to poach, you don't need to cut firewood, you don't need to cut wood for charcoal. And that was how the Kiwanjani was coming in, because they could get jobs. The tourism could also be able to take the money, because every client coming to the lodge, we're also taking them also to the women groups who are making the artistry. So that was like the very beginning. And of course, in between, we were learning, we kept learning what's going on, understanding the challenges. And so one of those interventions was in education. And like we all know, the challenges of, if you're looking, for example, in terms of performance, in terms of in the country, the coastal schools are always like probably in the last in terms of ranking, and it's because of lack of facilities, remoteness, and so it was not difficult for us to decide on how to intervene, and that's why we thought, let's use ICT, and ICT is an enabler. It's definitely going to open up the world for some of these people, and as fate has it, we linked up with Jakub Shimek, and then got the grant funding, and we started with one school. I remember that was Moi High Kasigao, and then this grew to 5 schools, it grew to 12 schools, it grew up to 50 schools, up to 100 schools, and the intervention was on ICT equipment donation, but also digitizing the education, and training them on how they can be able to use simple ICT skills. So that kind of is what set the background of how we started the projects. But what was now amazing for us running this project, now remember, I was trained on wildlife conservation. So nothing to do with the digital ICT. World. Nothing to do with ICT. I think I must admit, even up to now, I don't know how to program. But it doesn't make me lose sleep at night, because I know that I can. I have very smart people around me who can be able to do the job, and so all I do is to offer them opportunity to do that. So I remember we had very, very smart young people coming through this project, and every time we used to go and do like monitoring visits, like every weekly, you find somebody has come up with a business idea. It could be on value addition, it could be maybe an innovation in water, it could be an innovation in agriculture. And so the ICT clubs really, and this was again what was because of an exchange program we had with the Slovak schools. We had what we call the Practice Enterprise Network. Again, this kind of project was kind of encouraging learning. What can Kenya learn from Slovakia? And I think these are the kind of development partnerships and cooperation that really creates value, because instead of starting from scratch, then you're able to learn from the mistakes, and you'll learn from what has worked elsewhere. And so I think I really thank Slovakia for this kind of intervention. So here we have good, smart people working with us. If I can recall some of the beneficiaries, for example, somebody like Wilson Chola, he never stepped into any programming school, but he was a guy who could dismantle a computer and reset it for you. He could come up with an app. The latest one, he was able to come up with a water sensor that can be able to notify including municipal. And we actually pitched that idea to Taita Taveta Water Company that can help them to detect leakages in the pipeline. We had very, very smart people. For example, we had Leah. Leah went all the way, and now is a senior programming officer in one of the NGOs. Lucia Mudoni went all the way. Now she's now working with us, including you, Gift, and Robert with Regime Designs, which again was a pioneer PR and media company in Voi, and you're able to scale it throughout Mombasa into the cities at the coast. And so so I think what really carried us was the dream now was in the young people that we were working with, that they were able really to take these, they were able to take the platform that we provided for them, and they were able really to create and be able to explore and live within their dream. So that really was quite a motivator. And my co-founder, Jakub Shimek, so at some point we were wondering, so David, what next? And so the last phase of this ICT project was definitely we were looking to put up a center where we could be able to provide an opportunity for these young skills and talents after high school graduation, that they can be able to come, form teams, and of course be able to go through an incubation process. So that somehow is how Sote Hub came to be. The project was the computer project was between 2010 to 2015, and the Sote Hub establishment was around 2016. And I will say it has been quite a journey.
Yeah, it was like late 2015, so I think November 2015 or December, so it really started from 2016. And it was like it was quite I think with this the training companies or practice and enterprise network, then I think you also or we together with at Sote ICT, we also did like this student startup, which was I think like our innovation, like with the smaller teams, not just training companies. And then with Sote Hub, you were also then consulting like other countries, like right through Oxfam. There was some kind of program called eMotive, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
There was some like Dutch Oxfam kind of thing. They mentioned Sote Hub as one of like I think 16 other or 15 other like startup hubs, like rural startup hubs, one of the first in the world, right? So you were there are two other countries then actually that you were consulting like similar
yeah
things.
Absolutely. And actually they actually approached us to help them in terms of modeling and how to get rural hubs off the ground. And so we managed to consult and help them. I think it was in Jordan, and I think there was something in South Sudan. And so really if I remember, when we opened up Sote Hub in Voi, there were only two other hubs outside Nairobi. There was the Swahili Box, which is in Mombasa, and the team at Swahili Box actually were we had the we actually asked them to come and also help us to understand how it works. And then we had Lake Hub, which is in Kisumu. So Sote Hub essentially was the third outside Nairobi. Before that, we only had maybe 30 or 40 hubs, but all of them were in Nairobi, and there was no one with the rural focus. Our motto was growing startups from rural cities and towns. That has remained up to date. And schools, that has remained up to date. I think that's in our DNA. And even that motto, the logo and everything was kind of a co-creation, which was quite amazing, because the young people that that came through the system were helping us to shape the vision of what a hub, how best the hub could be able to support them.
That's truly inspiring, David. It's I can remember all those memories, meeting with you guys while I was in high school, and seeing myself also growing from that point of being a student to where I am right now. So it's remarkable to see the impact Sote Hub has had on nurturing young talents and supporting startups in Kenya. But could you tell us more about the specific programs and initiatives that Sote Hub offers to entrepreneurs, and how do you provide the necessary resources and support with their growth?
Yeah, so before going to that, I think I must also remember one good friend of ours, Dr. Mikhail Mlinar. He was the ambassador, Slovak ambassador to Kenya. I think that gentleman sowed Yes.
I
And
remember.
then he had this project, Ambassadors of Change, where he was. And so now what he was focusing on was, because remember the background of hardship, where most of the families are. And one of, for example, one of the student groups from Kajire came up with an innovation known as Ndovu Care.
Yeah.
Why did they come up with this innovation? It's every day when they go to school, they meet elephants, and elephants do not move off the way. And so there was a trouble of them missing out on classes. And of course, the elephants also destroying crops. So they looked at an IoT device that could send an automatic SMS and a siren to Kenya Wildlife Service. And through this, there was kind of peace or semblance, and the kids were able to go back to school again because Kenya Wildlife Service was now able to work with them closely. So look at an example of this, because there, and this for us was we look back at this and you get satisfied that it was not in vain, and that the innovation are responding directly to the needs at the local level, and it's not something from somewhere else being brought or scaled into the local level. And so Michael Mlinar was very, very instrumental. So he had this project, Ambassador of Change, and the students could be able to write their dreams, how they want to influence or how they want to become better citizens. And then we could get top 5. We take them to Nairobi, the embassy. They go to United Nations headquarters. Some of them were going to Nairobi for the very, very first time. So we had also to do a lot of hand holding while they crossed the road. But for us, I think was to give them the maximum exposure and open up their world and the realities that and the opportunities, that the possibilities that's possible. And so very, very glad that this project was able to open up rural Taita, and it became not just an inspiration in Kenya, but also outside. Yeah, right. So to get to the second part.
Sorry, maybe just to chip in before the current.
Yes.
Also, like just with the Ndovu Care, I think it's quite fascinating because actually the school in Kajire, when we were starting, I think in 2012, the school didn't have electricity, or just got like electricity like right after we kind of were like starting with the ICT project, like with the ICT for Boy. And then like 6 years later, the teachers and mentors and the students, they went actually to the US and were like participating in the Diamond Challenge, like startup competition. And so they won the African round, and then they went to deliver to the US. So like 6 years from no electricity to winning an African, like all African startup competition. So
absolutely. Thanks for reminding me.
And also just like to mention like a colleague of ours, like Iuka Ulichna, who was also quite instrumental in like bringing the methodology of these training companies and training students while like also volunteering and like and then later working with us. So yeah, she like especially like with the girl entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs, she was like and also like teaching these practical like presentation skills and like the so it was great, good times together. But
good times.
And I don't know if you know that actually there is even a video game about Ndovu Care story now, like with those guys from that game, what is it?
Impact. Yeah. I'm aware. I linked them up. And so now it's like it's like an educational content where people can be able to even in Slovakia, I think in Slovak language. So and thanks for reminding me about Ivana. Ivana was, I remember she was volunteering in one of the schools that was in Chala. Then there was a fire outbreak, and I think they lost quite some properties in Chala.
The dormitory.
Yeah, the dormitory, yeah. So it was quite scary, and she was out there, but she was able to turn that round. She was able to have like a crowdfunding, and was able to actually to generate enough money to help the school rebuild there. So
Wow.
quite interesting things. And then one of the young students innovation that I also remember, and these are students 17, 18, 19 max. One of another group came up with a soil testing kit known as Uditech. This was a school in Kasigao. So Shimek, you remember,
Wow.
Kasigao is in the rural area. There was absolutely no electricity. I remember when we were taking computers there, we went with the member of parliament, and he was giving the principal some ultimatum that chief, you need to get electricity here, otherwise you don't benefit from the project. Of course, that was more or less to motivate the principal, and within a month or two, we had power there. And some of these things looks pretty obvious in other places, but in rural area, it's a challenge. So this group of girls developed a kit that can test the pH of a soil, and you're able to know the micronutrients. So if you are growing cotton, if you are growing sugar, if you are growing horticulture, you are able to use this kit to test whether the soil is the right conducive one for the crop you're growing. This is something that doesn't exist in the rural areas. In most cases, people just plant because now is rain season and it's time for planting. And then also you can test the soil moisture, the moisture level. So it can also, now it was able to have an IoT connection where you can also use it in the greenhouse to test, to tell when to start watering or to add fertilizer, etc. So this group of 17 to 18 to 19-year-old girls won a prize. They were the national winner in UN Women in Nairobi. They won probably close to $25,000, which they were able to invest in their innovation and grow it. And so you look back, people who did not have electricity, you give them computers, and now they're able to really come up with this groundbreaking innovation. So that's the story of Sote Hub, and I think we met many people. We had lots of goodwill, good friends that we still cherish today. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, David, that is not something for granted, because some of these projects are normally happening in the town or in the urban area, but we are seeing them happening in the rural areas, you know, and through your help and Sote Hub, trying to put the project outside there so that people can know. It's very important and inspiring.
Yeah, thanks. So and now we are in another phase. So 6 years in Taita in Voi, lots of impact, lots of friends, of course a few enemies also we make, and then now we're moving to Mombasa, and so the new phase of Sote Hub moved out of the school kind of project, and the vision has never changed. Our focus is on youth, but now we were able also to look at youth outside schools, those who graduated, those who already are out and looking for job and opportunities or starting a business. But we were also looking at farmers. We're also looking at different livelihood groups, and how can we be able to work with these people in order to scale their businesses. So I will say the focus now is there are 4 sectors that we are. So the target group has remained. Of course, we still do a bit of schools project, but now our focus more is out of school young youth and women. And so now the focus with their 4 sectors that are of interest to us. I like to call them A, B, C, D. So A is for agriculture. Agriculture, because agriculture is I mean the backbone of the economy and a very critical sector. So at the moment we work with about 15,000 cashew nut farmers. We train them on value chain development, about 2,000 yellow passion fruit farmers, Last week, we signed another project for the farmers who want to grow mangoes. This is a smaller number of 1,000. So I think in total is about 18,400. So our intervention is simple. We link them to market off-takers. We link them to service providers, for example, insurance, microfinance, extension support, banks. For example, we have a week ago, we hosted nearly 10 banks in our hub, and we were trying to get them to work with, and we invited the farmers, we invited the SMEs, and they had one-on-one discussion in terms of how can we access funding from banks, because that's a challenge for many SMEs, many entrepreneurs. So beside the farmers, of course, we also work with startups, and the startups will definitely come in different ideas, and we're able to run incubation. Then the B is blue economy. Yeah, so the sectors in marine and mariculture, fish and fish handling, tourism, vessel repair, marine security, and all that, and including the port handling and operations. So last year we accelerated 200 MSMEs in blue economy sector. This was funded by GIZ. This year we are accelerating 100. Again, this 100 are perhaps a higher level than last year. So we are looking for business that has traction, maybe has maybe 1,000 euros plus per month in terms of turnover, have at least 5 employees, have customers. And so again, our intervention is market linkage and access to finance. For example, in this project, we are working with Stanbic Foundation, and Stanbic Foundation is giving them interest-free loans.
Wow.
Now, you know how difficult is it to access funding for SMEs and businesses. So this is something, we were very intentional in the design, because a number of incubation programs, you provide the skills and the skilling, you link them to market, and then you hit a snag when it comes to funding. But in this particular approach, we have the funder in-house. And this kind of closes the loop. And we want to monitor this closely, that after they've been able to access these interest-free loans, they can graduate, because they will have increased also their credit history. So they can graduate to bigger commercial loans, but also the plan is to connect them to angel investors and VCs, and so that they can also be able to raise bigger tickets. So that's the B part of it. And then the C is climate innovations. So anything on smart agriculture, renewable energy, environment conservation. Now, you know, I love environment, so I must have something close to my heart. So yeah, and this project, we worked with Slovakia again last year, and we accelerated about 20. And lastly is digitization. So in all the projects that we do, what's the role of technology? For us, technology is an enhancer, to be more or less like to create more value, to bring efficiency, to reduce wastages. And so we bring in digitization, and we are able to use Power BI, so business intelligence, to be able to track data of the SME or the startup that we work with. We collect baseline data, and the data we collect is in terms of number of employees, the turnover, the customer, the product, and a number of things, which we measure at the end of the program. So we want to look at the end of the project. How is the startup or SME performing? And so again, in very intentional, and we're able to track this up to the location of the SME, and so that at any one point we can pull out this data for decision making. And so I think these are the kind of new approaches, new ways of doing things. And so those 4 sectors are the most important we are focusing on now, probably up to the next 5 or so years. Yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic, David. And it's evident that Sote Hub goes beyond just providing physical infrastructure and maybe the way you used to work in schools. Now you offer a comprehensive ecosystem of support to help entrepreneurs thrive. Now, moving on to another topic of great importance. You are deeply passionate about climate change, and you have mentioned it on the ABCD and its impact on agriculture. Maybe could you share your insights on the current challenges faced by agriculture sector in Kenya due to climate change and how Sote Hub is working to address them?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, agriculture is one of those sectors that need a radical change. I see it in maybe 4 ways in terms of, well, maybe I look at the current status.
Mhm.
Kenya, we have deficiency of almost whether it's chicken, eggs, milk, potatoes, even beef, even coconut, cashew nut. 20 years ago, Kenya was the leading, for example, producer of cashew nut.
Mhm.
Today, Tanzania well, Kenya is doing what? 10,000 metric ton a year. Tanzania is perhaps doing 250,000 metric ton. So we have declined in terms of production on various. I always find it almost shocking that we are importing maize. Why should we import maize?
Mhm.
And these are staple food. There's nothing we are not importing. Yet we have what? A huge arable land, conducive climatic conditions. And so I will always think maybe something like a Marshall Plan. How do we get agriculture back to where it played? Because as long as there's food insecurity, you can't do much in terms of development. I see the big challenge, for example, in agriculture is the technology. Technology has remained what it was perhaps in the 60s. That is in terms of, because if you look at over 80% of agriculture is in the hand of smallholder farmers. So these are people who do not have the capital. Let's say they want to invest in modern farming system. They want to invest in a greenhouse. How much is the cost of a greenhouse? You probably need what, 5,000 to 10,000 euros, maybe for an eighth of a quarter, a greenhouse or drip irrigation. And so
maybe to cut you, I remember you also used to provide greenhouse in schools at some point, before.
Yes, these were very, very futuristic projects that we had. I think, yeah, thanks for reminding me. I think most of the projects we did in the early on were well aligned and very, very compatible in terms of the vision of what we are looking at. Yeah, so we provided maybe around 7 secondary schools with greenhouses because we wanted the schools to be like models or centers of excellence where the children can learn best practices in agriculture, including on the agronomic, and they can be able to take this lesson back at home, or the parents could also visit the school. So this for us were like the bigger picture. And so the technology has remained, the technology including in water, because one of the challenges that you find also, for example, is unpredictable rainfall pattern. But if you go to countries, and we keep using the example of Israel, which is a desert and is very, very food secure, Kenya has a lot of water, so you probably just need kind of to invest in a proper irrigation system outside the rain-fed agriculture, and you will be food secure. So I think technology has remained obsolete, maybe because of the cost of the technology, and I think something definitely needs to be done. But also in terms of financing, if you look at the loan book of all the commercial banks in Kenya, only 4% of funding of all the loans that banks have given in Kenya goes to agriculture. So you tell me this is the most important sector, and only 4% of loans, total loan, has gone to agriculture. So it means it's severely underfunded. When there is no capital, then there is no means to take agriculture to the next level. And so I think, and this perhaps could be something that the government can have a direct input in terms of setting funds or adequate funds. Last year budget, I think it's like $300 million that is going to agriculture. I still think that is not enough. Agriculture and healthcare for me are the most very, very critical ministries or sectors. And lastly, I will say climate. The climate situation is kind of a chicken and egg situation where we are partly responsible for the challenges of climate. And people are cutting, for example, harvesting timber for charcoal, or polluting the environment. So cutting trees. I'm glad that there's a very big ambition by the Kenyan government to plant maybe up to 10 billion trees. I hope it is materialized because our forest cover is maybe around 8%. So we need to increase the number of trees. So we have a big challenge here about climate, erratic rainfall. And when the rainfall, so in most cases, it delays. And when it comes, it's in floods. So when it is flooding, then again, there's loss of life. And we are not prepared also to harvest that water and store in a reservoir that can be used for agriculture. So I think generally, for me, I see those are the impediments of agriculture. And if we are able to have a comprehensive way to address them, then it becomes very easy even for an innovation or a startup or an entrepreneur to thrive. So I give you two examples. 3 days ago, I visited an entrepreneur who we are with we are also supporting her in our projects. She has about 10,000 layers, that's chicken, for eggs. And her name is Rosemary. She's here in Kilifi. She was telling me one chicken or one hen lays 6 eggs in a week. So multiply that by 10,000, multiply that by 30 days. And if you do the maths of maybe what, $1 10 cents of a dollar for egg, she has nearly $24,000 income per month from rearing chicken. And she's telling me that her phone rings continuously. The appetite for eggs is insatiable in Mombasa alone, and she's completely unable to meet the orders of supplying eggs. And this. So you might look. This is like a lowly kind of career, but here is somebody who wants to get their hand dirty. So there's an opportunity there. Then I visited another gentleman known as Justin. Justin supplies, I don't know whether Yakub, you have eaten rabbit meat. Yeah?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Kind of long time ago, but it's eaten in Slovakia a lot. Yeah.
It's lean meat. Justin is the only supplier of rabbit meat, maybe the largest supplier of rabbit meat in Mombasa. His company is known as Millimag. Yeah, Millimag. And he says that, so we went and we were able to see the rabbits and different kind of rabbits that he keeps there. And he says that he gets orders as far as Carnival in Nairobi. Right now, Gift, I'm sure you are aware, there is Safari Rally in Naivasha. He is in Safari Rally as we speak. Wow. Safari Rally is an international car racing. And now it's a big event in Kenya. And so he is the contact. And he says there are like only 10 farmers in the country at his level of production.
Wow. Interesting.
That's rabbit. And so, and I could go on and on. There's, for example, there's a young man who is doing azolla. So azolla is a microplant which it grows, it's very fast to mature. So 1 week It's mature. You can harvest it. It grows on. It's an aquatic plant, but advantage of azolla is that it's highly nutritious. So you can process it, dry it, and grind it, and you add it as a nutrient to chicken feed. So it's very good. It's highly nutritious chicken feed. You can also use it. You can also add it to feed for cows, goats, and anything else that you have. You can also actually use it for fish as a fish feed. So you make it into pellets. And he has tons of orders. And again, he also tells me his phone can't stop ringing, because if you go to the shop, agrovets, to buy some of these feeds, whether it's for cows or chicken, it's damn expensive. Yakub, the inflation in Kenya has gone too high, and so you find the cost of basic commodities has gone 10 times. And so a lot of farmers are finding also difficult to afford some of the, of course, the inputs that they require. And so look at the opportunity in the agro sector. But if you tell this chicken farmer to go to a bank, the bank will ask for so many questions that are not, yes. And so this is the situation that we are in, and we hope that and through the project, for example, that we run with Sote. So like last week, we had all the banks coming to the center, to our hub. We invited these SMEs, some of the farmers, and they're able to sign some deals. Last year, we had similar event in Lamu, where we invited about 500 passion fruit farmers. And this was with Equity Bank. And the latest I had is that group is up to about 60 million Kenya shillings. So that's close to 55,000 euros has been disbursed based on this kind of interaction. And so I think it's a collective effort. A lot needs to be done, but it can be done.
And are you happy that now the current president is a pioneer of climate change and agriculture? Do you see like things changing maybe within his regime, and
Yeah, we can only be optimistic. And hope that the words is changed into action. I think for me, and this is also something I speak also with my entrepreneurs a lot. Beautiful business plan, beautiful speech, without implementing it's just that, So I hope, and he has shown very, very good in terms of policy, well measured, very visionary in terms of the climate. I think he is kind of a strong ambassador for climate, and so it's still too early to judge, but we want to give him the support and also the benefit of doubt. And the other way also is, maybe I didn't mention this, is the other challenge that we have in agriculture is perception. Agriculture is left for those who lost hope. It's the last career option for anyone coming out of school. Yeah. They will be like, agriculture is for my parents and grandparents. But you can't blame the young people really, because they grew up in homes where agriculture was not profitable. It was not run as a business, kind of very subsistence level. Yeah. And so that has to change. And one of the projects that we are doing now is youth inclusion into agriculture. And this is a project we are doing through support from European Union and also through NORAD. We are working with Integra Foundation, a Slovak NGO. We are working with Grow Fairly, which is a processor of cashew nut and macadamia. So what we are doing is we are giving grafted seedlings to schools, and they are forming agro clubs. So if you remember, we used to have ICT clubs. We just flip the coin. Instead of ICT, it's now agro clubs. Yeah. Wow. And within the agro clubs, we are using the manual we developed in the ICT clubs to help them organize themselves into leadership. So the way they elect themselves president, chair, and treasurer, and all, they still do that. But beyond that, we teach them the practical agronomic on how to grow cashew nut in the modern way. in terms of digging the hole, in terms of the spacing, in terms of taking care of it, the harvest and the post-harvest. And then we give them like 1,000 seedlings. So they plant, every student has like their 2 or 3 trees they take care of. The success rate of those trees is much higher because the kids have more passion to invest. And then the surplus seedlings, we ask them to take their parents and also able to pass on the knowledge to their brothers and sisters at home. But also interestingly is why we are working with Grow Fairly is Grow Fairly is an off-taker, is a processor of cashew nut. So already we have a market in mind. So Grow Fairly is subcontracting the schools as suppliers of cashew nut. So what it means is that when the nuts are ready, the school can also be able to get income from Grow Fairly. This project is ticking a lot of boxes. So there is the economic for the school, there is the perception, the change, the new skills, new way of agriculture we are giving the students. There's also the environmental goals because we are donating trees, which is also increasing the forest cover. But over and above that is that we are also exposing them to other opportunities in the agro value chain. I think the perception has been that in agriculture, you can only be a farmer at the production level. Yet there's tons of opportunities along the chain. You could be logistics, you could be using technology, you could be an agronomist, you could be an expert, you could provide data for weatherman. And so during the interaction at the agro clubs, we give them this wider vision of what's possible in the agro value chain. So we hope that with this, then we'll have a new set of young people that appreciates agriculture as an alternative career choice. We've so far worked with 150 schools. We've given with around 15,000 students and given out about 120,000 seedlings. And we hope this can be able to propel in the future. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great number. Yeah, and that's truly remarkable, David. It's crucial to leverage technology and innovation to address the challenges posed by climate change in agriculture. Sote Hub's focus on climate smart solution is commendable. And yeah, now let's shift our focus to the concept of the blue economy. Could you maybe explain to our listeners what the blue economy is and its significance, particularly for the counties or countries with coastal regions like Kenya?
Yeah. So blue economy generally is any economic activity that revolves around water. As gifts, I hope you're aware that 70% of the earth is covered by ocean.
Yes.
And then of course now we have the rivers and the lakes. So that gives it the other 2%. So we owe a lot of credit. I mean, water is so crucial in terms of the life that we have on Earth. And so any economic activity that is in water, so it could be ocean, it could be in the river, so also in Lake Victoria, Lake Turkana, so all those are blue economy. And when you talk about economic activity, you're talking about fish and fish handling. So those people, those fishermen in the ocean or in the lake. You are talking about mariculture. So mariculture is ocean fish. I'm sure you'll have enjoyed those ocean fish. And you're also talking about tourism. Tourism is huge. You are talking about aquaculture. You are talking about conservation, especially marine conservation. Now you have what you call blue carbon. So the mangrove ecosystem and the restoration projects that align with that. And so that's in totality the sectors that align or derive directly from the ocean. Kenya is a big player now in terms of the blue economy. I will say, like, for example, some of the projects I mentioned before, we have worked with about 330 SMEs in blue economy. and the focus, of course, is direct market linkage. And if you look at, for example, the contribution of blue economy to the GDP, I think it's about 5% of Kenya's GDP is from the blue economy. So all fish and fish handling, etc. I will say definitely that we are just scratching the surface. Just like agriculture, if you look at the major players at the small scale SMEs and business people, the person who owns a boat and who takes the boat into the ocean, into the river, it will shock you that these guys have a return of maybe 1,000 shillings per day. So they don't benefit much from their venture. And the reason, of course, is always the technology. I think we talked about the technology. If you want really to benefit from fishing, then you have to go deep sea. Deep sea means going like 40 kilometers or maybe 30 miles into the ocean. You can't go into that with the canoe that they use. And so you find the commercial fisher people and foreign companies still have an upper hand because they can go deep sea and able to get the best catch. The regular fisher people can only fish near the ocean, near the shoreline. And so I think those are the kind of issues that we are dealing with. And I'll tell you, for example, one of our startups has developed a sensor, an IoT device that can tell the location of the fish.
Wow.
So so it's able to scan the environment. And now what they do is that they go at night and use the power of magic. I think also it's experiential, but then they're able to take a net and just troll it at the bottom. But what this sensor does is that you don't need to work hard, you work smart. So you are able to get notifications on the location where to best fish. So it's now in the trial. It was one of the winners of our Blue Economy Summit we had last year, and they'll be joining the accelerators very soon. But these are, I think, there's huge opportunity.
I saw another startup.
If I move outside,
also I saw another startup also from Sote Hub, and another lady who is making cookies out of fish. I don't know, it's something like that. So as a nutrient.
Yes. So the name of the startup is Samaki Poa. So Samaki Poa is making cookies from fish, but there are different flavors of the cookie. So if you want ginger in it, if you want vanilla in it, so you won't get the fish smell. So it's very good. It's very nutritious. So he uses cassava. Actually, the entrepreneur is known as Frank Thoyer. We call him Papa Man. So he uses cassava flour. So that's very, very nutritious. And then uses fish, and of course something to stabilize or to add a bit of flavor. And if you look at the way why he started this innovation was malnutrition. And if you in schools in rural areas where parents are poor, getting a balanced diet sometimes can be a challenge at the household. But this cookie is packed with nutrition, so it means that it can be fed. It can be part of a children feeding program. And so he got a media interview the other day. He has been in the papers. He was in BBC. And he's one of the startups that came through Sote Hub. And also the other day he got also some funding from Stanbic, the bank that I informed you about. And these are the kind of businesses that answers to the needs of the population. Yeah. So, and of course there are many others. And then I want also to mention that beyond fish, blue economy, tourism, for example. What's the status of tourism in Kenyan context at the moment? When I was growing up, tourism, I think, was the #1 foreign exchange earner in Kenya. Today, it has been overtaken by, I think, probably horticulture and tea. Last year, I think we got probably about $2 billion from tourism. Compare that with about 4 billion from diaspora. So the Kenyan diaspora actually is the number one foreign exchange earner in Kenya at the moment. It has beat tourism, it has beat agriculture, it has beat everything that we have in the country. And so tourism has not been explored. One of those trips that I went when I was having exchange visits with the Pontis Foundation, who are our partners, where Yakub was. I think Yakub, if you remember, you had organized a lecture in Cyprus. I don't know if it was 20. Yeah, probably 20.
Yes. Or Ilka or some colleagues of mine. It was like a global education, or Ivana probably.
Yes. So what surprised me about Cyprus is it's about 1 million people, the population. It's a tiny island country. It's like Mombasa, Mombasa and an island surrounded by sea. And it's 1 million population. But they have diversified. So all they have is the beach and tourism as main source of income. But they have packaged it and they have diversified to the beach attraction so much, such that in a year they receive 3 million visitors. So it means that the amount of people coming to Cyprus is 3 times the population of the country. Of course, they all don't come at the same time, otherwise there'll be nowhere for accommodation. But that's the picture. That's the picture. Kenya, we have the beach, we have the wildlife, we have one of the best national parks, we have the mountain, we have the rich culture. But do you know how many we receive? 2 million. So that doesn't compare. That doesn't compare very well. So it means that, again, there is lots of opportunity. If you unlock tourism, look at the number of jobs, the hotel industry, the farmers, the benefit, the traders, the logistics people. So a lot of jobs are created along the pipeline. And so, again, if you're talking about reality of the blue economy has huge potential to be a strong national economic driver for Kenya.
Wow. Thank you, David, for that insightful perspective on the role of technology in driving sustainability within the blue economy. It's clear that advancements in technology hold tremendous potential for addressing environmental challenges and promoting responsible practices. We have covered some compelling topics today, from the journey of Sote Hub, climate change, agriculture, and the blue economy. I want to express my gratitude to you, David, for sharing your knowledge and experience with our listener. Maybe as we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add before we conclude this podcast?
No, thank you and great to reconnect. I'm very, very proud of you. So for our listeners, Gift was one of the shining stars of our project. And now I'm really privileged and humbled that I could share also this journey, a journey that he's very familiar with, most of it. Of course, not all, because a lot has happened. But I think it just shows that the strength of the projects that we did. I think for me, because I work a lot with innovators, young people, for me, what I always keep telling them is nothing beats focus. You need to focus. You need to focus. Sometimes you get many ideas and you jump from one to the other. I think the only thing standing between you and success is time. So focus and time. And that, I think, is unbeatable. It's a pleasure and a privilege to see you, Shimek.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we recorded this podcast. I was looking forward to it. Yeah, so I'm actually at the coast here in Bilbao in Spain. So I'm happy yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
You're also promoting.
Hope to see you.
Jakub, you're also experiencing the blue economy activities.
Blue economy, yeah. I'm definitely more connected to blue economy than in Slovakia, because Slovakia doesn't have a sea. So this is yeah. But anyhow, it's amazing how you scaled Sote Hub, and like from 10 schools when I was there, and after the last time I was in Kenya in 2017, now it's like over 150 schools, or 100 with the agri clubs. So it's amazing, great job, and I'm happy that that you are now working from the coast. So, but I hope we will reconnect there soon, someday soon. Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Well said, David. Okay, that brings us to the end of this podcast. If you enjoyed listening to Mtambo This podcast, don't forget to subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and be sure to come back next week for another episode. Until then, this is Duke Mtambo, and don't forget to do good always.